Selamat siang Bapak Ibu, rekan-rekan media yang sangat kami hargai. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Selamat datang kami ucapkan untuk semua rekan-rekan media yang sudah menyempatkan waktunya di tengah semua kesibukannya untuk bergabung bersama kami dalam acara press conference di perhelatan pertama Indonesia Tourism Exchange atau ITX 2026 di Langham, Jakarta. Nama saya Siska Becker, izinkan saya untuk mengatakan terima kasih banyak untuk kehadirannya dan supportnya untuk acara kami pada hari ini. Mudah-mudahan tadi Bapak Ibu, rekan-rekan media menikmati sesi makan siang yang sudah kami sajikan dan juga sudah scan QR Code untuk mendapatkan media kit yang kami sediakan. Kalau memang ada sesuatu yang dibutuhkan lebih lanjut, nanti seusai press conference boleh menghubungi tim kami ya untuk bertanya secara langsung. Nah, sebelum kita memulai agenda sesi pertama kita, izinkan saya pertama-tama untuk membagikan terlebih dahulu agenda umum kita, khususnya untuk acara press conference kita pada siang hari ini di Indonesia Tourism Exchange 2026. Nah, pertama-tama kita akan dengarkan tentunya sambutan pembuka yang akan dibawakan oleh Matt Gabby, Director Horwath HTL of Pacific Asia. Selanjutnya kita akan simak bersama-sama dua buah diskusi panel dengan topik-topik yang sangat menarik dan berkenaan nih dengan isu tourism di Indonesia dan juga regional pada saat ini. Diskusi panel yang pertama dengan judul Menilai Pasar Luxury Hospitality di Indonesia. Sebagai pembicara akan hadir di atas panggung Sherona Sheng, Regional Vice President Operations Asia, Langham Hospitality Group, dan juga Jesper Palmquist, Regional Vice President of Asia Pacific STR. Untuk sesi diskusi ini akan dimoderatori oleh David Johnson, CEO of Delivering Asia. Nah, setelah itu kita akan simak panel diskusi berikutnya dengan topik yang tidak kalah menarik, On the Rise of Luxury Branded Residence in Bali. Sebagai pembicara akan hadir Edward Kusma, Direktur dari Harmony Bali, dan selaku moderator akan hadir Bill Barnett, Managing Director dari C9 Hotel Works. We'd like to say thank you to all speakers for attending this press conference. We cannot wait to get your valuable insights. Thank you so much for being here. Nah, setelah itu para rekan-rekan media semua nanti ada kesempatan bagi rekan-rekan untuk bertanya secara langsung kepada para speaker mengenai topik-topik yang sudah dibawakan. Jadi akan ada Q&A session. Kalau memang ingin bertanya pada bahasa Indonesia, tidak apa-apa, kami akan bantu translate nanti untuk mendapatkan jawabannya dari para speaker kita. Setelah itu kita juga sediakan ada sesi foto di backdrop yang juga tersedia, dan memang jika dibutuhkan untuk follow up interview atau one-on-one interview, nanti juga bisa langsung saja diatur dengan menghubungi tim yang terkait. Baiklah teman-teman media semua, sekarang mari kita mulai rangkaian acara yang sudah disiapkan. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to officially open our press conference, please welcome the Director Pacific Asia of Horwath HTL, Mr. Matt Gabby.
Selamat siang semua dan selamat datang ke Indonesia Tourism Exchange 2026. My name is Matt Gabby from Horwath HTL, and together with Bill Barnett and our other sponsors that are here this afternoon, we created ITX because we love Indonesian tourism. The ambition, the talent, and the quality of what's being built across this unbelievable archipelago. It deserves its own stage. So today we built one. It's free, it's open, and there is no hierarchy. We have boutique owners of hotels from Solo sitting next to mixed-use developers from Jakarta. There is no hierarchy, as I said. Everyone gets the same voice. We've crowded the stage with Indonesians doing exceptional things in hospitality and tourism. That's intentional. This conversation should be led by the people living it. We've kept it to 2 hours because we know how busy everyone is in Jakarta. We wanted as many people to be here as possible. So we said yes, short. People have definitely signed up. We've got a record crowd, oversubscribed this afternoon, and thank you ultimately to the Langham. The Langham has done an exceptional job of welcoming us, of preparing for this afternoon. And for a discussion on luxury, there's no better place.
Right, thank you so much, Mr. Margevi, for your welcoming remarks and for highlighting the significance of Indonesia in the industry landscape, especially in the region, and also for sharing with us the vision and strategic importance of the ITX platform. Sudah kita simak bersama-sama rekan-rekan media sambutan dari Mr. Matt Gaby yang telah memaparkan visi dan pentingnya nilai strategis dari platform ITX ini dan juga betapa signifikannya Indonesia dalam industri pariwisata baik dalam negara kita maupun juga secara regional. Okay, now we're going to move into our first panel discussion. Rekan-rekan media, mari bersiap-siap kita simak untuk panel diskusi kita yang pertama dengan tajuk Luxury and Data Trends. Now please welcome our panel. These are our speakers, the Regional VP Operations Asia Langham Hospitality Group, Ms. Sharona Sheng. Ms. Sharona Sheng, such a privilege to have you here. You may take your seats. And then to complete the speakers panel, we have Mr. Jesper Palmquist, Regional VP Asia Pacific STR. I hope I didn't butcher your name. Was it said correctly? All right, good to know. There you are, there you are. Thank you so much. And now let's welcome our moderator, Mr. David Johnson, CEO of Delivering Asia. David, let's have you here.
We're going to need some microphones, I think. There we go. We just need once more.
Oke, nah saya juga akan duduk di sini, jaga-jaga misalnya ada nih yang butuh untuk dirangkum samperin dalam bahasa Indonesia. Alright, David, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, hello everyone. We're going to be talking about luxury hospitality in this session. Very grateful for my panelists to join today. We will hear about the increase of millionaires, US dollar millionaires, coming into the market, benefiting from the market and driving domestic trade, domestic hospitality. We will also hear about the increase in international travel. We have a figure, I think, of 17 million. We're going to hear more about that from you. But I would just first like to start by asking Sharona, please.
Yes, David.
Sharona.
Yes, thank you for sitting down.
Could we just cast our... I'm getting nervous with that. Could we please just have a look at the luxury market and where we've come from and where we are today?
Right, thank you. Thank you for having me. I think luxury travel in the past is more based on scale. Travelers are looking for a size of a hotel, maybe the opulence, the finishing. So it's more the optical opulence. But the travelers today, we are seeing a trend moving towards a more immersive, culturally driven. They want an experience. They want authenticity. In the past, personalization in a hotel may be seen as an added bonus, but today it is really expected. So we are seeing this shift from, again, scale to curation, right? We need to thoughtfully put together an experience for today's travelers. We are also, sorry.
And that sort of experience, what would that look like?
Yeah, like I'll give an example of Jakarta, right? Jakarta is known for being a business stopover. People are here for meetings and doing businesses. So how do we make that experience immersive? I think travelers may want to explore the neighborhood, like the city walk. It's becoming a big thing. Like everywhere they go, they want a city walk. They want to explore the neighborhood. They want to see a mix of history, but also the new. So while they experience maybe the old town, they can surprise themselves upon cafes and great bars. You know how Jakarta has been known for having the greatest bars in the world, in Asia, right? So a mix of that. When they come for shopping, for example, they get the brilliant works of the local designers, but they also may want to understand the heritage behind the batik, right? To understand the process of making that fabric. And all that experiences will create authenticity for the travelers. And then we talk about dining. Wow, what a wonderful array of choices that we get now in Jakarta, from Michelin chef restaurants to celebrity chef restaurants. Like in this hotel, we brought in the 3-star Michelin Tang Court, if you haven't tried it, from Hong Kong. There is the celebrity chef Morimoto and Michelin chef Tommy Akins. And this has really helped to position the hotel. So in the past, hotels may not be really focusing on building a really solid culinary experience, but today, the restaurants and bars are positioning the hotels in the city, and that's making this hotel really successful.
Thank you. Jesper, what is it? You're a frequent visitor to Indonesia, to all the different parts of Indonesia. What is your, before we look at the actual numbers, what is your view on the growth, the evolution, the reality of the luxury hospitality market?
Yeah, it's still in short, it's still a maturing market that is heading in there. And I think, obviously, with this property, I think Bob and the entire Langham team and yourself have done a remarkable job in putting this legacy brand in here. It's a fantastic property. And I think luxury, you could put it in 2 buckets, and that's more kind of fitting and modern now, luxury and ultra luxury. Because there are very few places around the world where you talk about you can sell for $2,000-3,000 a night. But that luxury segment is where Indonesia has really taken a step forward. We've seen it in Bali a number of years. You have very often remote locations, great resorts, but also these urban resorts and things like here in this property in Jakarta. And the fact is that all these new properties offer a new kind of luxury. And we see that in Indonesia, we see it in India, we see it in China, in these large markets, where it's no longer that traditional 5 people to carry your bag. It is all around experiences. We hear it from every brand and every developer and owner throughout the world. And they're creating something new. It's focused on wellness. It's focusing on the right luxury for the right customer. And Indonesia is growing not just everything from economy to luxury hotels. And so I think that's the exciting part of what's happening across this big nation.
Thank you. Do you have an update, a couple of slides that you can perhaps share with us in terms of kind of where we are, the present situation for luxury?
Absolutely. If we start a little bit, talk about luxury and what happens. So what this is showing is really how luxury is very resilient. And it's important to remember that luxury generally fares well against any external shocks and impact around the world compared to other kinds of hotels. And that's a global fact. It's not just in Indonesia. It's just less exposed to, say, domestic economic pressure, and it has that stronger performance that runs throughout the world. And it is very noticeable. So if you look since then, before the pandemic, the occupancy rates in luxury hotels versus all the other classes, so from economy and up to the others. So what's happened in the last 12 to 18 months, as there is a shock, so let's just softer demand in a market like Indonesia, luxury holds up better. And that's just one example. You can go back to global financial crisis, the pandemic, Asian financial crisis, however far you go back to a shock to the system, luxury holds up better. It's a different kind of traveler, right? It impacts different. I think we'll continue to see that and how it runs through this world. Now in 2026, we're starting to see that bifurcation you see in the graph, that division, we're starting to see that normalize now. So usually it's luxury that comes first, and then the other hotel classes then, all right, now things are normalizing and they kind of catch up.
In terms of occupancy, Sharona, how's that been shaping up for you? I know you opened this hotel, for example, almost 5 years ago. How's that looking for you?
The occupancy has been on an upward trend, and we are projecting a 10% growth in occupancy this year. Yeah, that's our forecast. I've been told by the general manager, Alex, that April was the best month ever since the opening, April this year, just last month. Since the opening of the hotel, with occupancy almost reaching 80%. So that's a very encouraging number. Yep.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sue, could you just go to the next one, please? And let me ask you just about the thorny issue of rates. Let's have a look at rates.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what we've seen for quite a long time in Indonesia, we see a stretching out. So you see occupancies under pressure, but rates keep growing. And that's across kind of all hotels, but it's luxury that is growing much faster than everyone else. If you compare rates today in Indonesia to 2019, they are 42% higher. 42% higher hotel rates. That's across all classes, not just luxury. But it is driven predominantly by luxury hotels like this property, and that's extraordinary. And that's, you know, you have a more mature market, you're seeing the new luxury supply. And if you launch a Langham, you will not expect to pay at this level. The expectation is here, and the demand is there for it, and people are happy to do it. And it's important then on this slide to remember what is the opportunity. Because I love hearing the 80%, that's awesome, because that's when you really start to see that additional rate growth and compression. But it's also true that Indonesia has an opportunity for even higher rates. Because you have to remember that it's not just this is a large domestic market for sure, but you have international clients and you have wealth in this country that wants a particular product. So when you compare in US dollars, to be able to compare, Indonesia sits kind of fittingly very close to India. India is also a very large domestic market, now maturing and changing its hotel landscape with new and modern luxury. So it's no coincidence that's there, both from a hotel but also an asset value. So an owner looking at his hotel or her hotel, they're looking to see, if I were to sell this asset, what is the valuation of it? And that is still considered quite affordable here and in India. So not the land price, but just the asset itself. So you can see there's a big difference when you move up to, for instance, Thailand, where the actual rates in luxury is higher. And I'm not even including Paris, London, New York, or Tokyo, and those other markets. So there is a big opportunity, and this is even without bringing in the ultra luxury, right? Where you pay $2,000, $3,000 a night, where the opportunity can be even higher.
Thank you. Sharona, how about just taking a little look forward? You know, how do you see things shaping up over the next 4 or 5 years?
I'm very positive about the upward trend in all sense of the word, right? I mean, the very vibrant domestic demand, and it's continuing to grow, is really critical for the growth of the industry. So just to share some numbers, the domestic trips in 2025 was 1.2 billion, and that represented a 17.5% growth from 2024. So and that's expected to continue to grow, and most 45% of the business for this hotel comes from domestic travelers. So that is a really assuring number. International arrivals have grown. In 2025, it recorded a 15.4 million, and is expected to grow at more than 10% this year for international arrivals. So with numbers like that, right, it's expected that luxury travel in Jakarta will continue to see some really good results.
That's good. That's good to hear. We've got Jakarta 500 next year too, 2027. 500 years old, Jakarta 2027. Hopefully
Right.
that'll be a spike there too. Any future predictions before we pass over to?
In terms of
to
forecast,
Bill Edwards?
we obviously, when you're forecasting these days, you got to factor in the geopolitical scenarios, what's happening around the world and in the Middle East. Forecasts after 29th of February, a little bit different. Now, you could put that in a few buckets. If you are a hotel in Dubai, very different reality, occupancies are low, understandably so. If you are dependent on Middle Eastern travelers, say Turkey, 1 of every 5 travelers depend on Middle East, hard for them too. The third part is, of course, the travel corridors. You've all seen the graph. People need to travel. The Europeans that want to come to Jakarta and stay here, they maybe not want to connect through Middle East. So there's the impact of that as well. Indonesia is quite well set up to manage this for now. Now, macroeconomically is a different matter. Fuel subsidies could lead to inflation, etc. But just from a pure hospitality segment, it is in a good shape in terms of source markets where people are coming now. So it's no big risk that I'm seeing so far. When we look at business on the books for the next 9 to 10 months, it hasn't changed in the last 2 months. We're seeing very few cancellations of events, of maybe some smaller groups, but generally it is much better here than in other markets. So that gives me positive views on, like you, both for Jakarta and Indonesia as a whole, to about 2 to 3% generally in growth in both occupancy and ADR. It's also helped by the fact that new hotels are not opening quickly in Indonesia right now. It's the end of the decade. The next 3 to 4, 5 years when we'll see a new burst of hotels. So we're helped by less supply pressure as well.
Okay, thank you. Would you like to add to that in any way, or anything you'd like to add to what Jesper said? Geopolitical,
Maybe
domestic
we can,
insulation.
you mentioned about the ultra high net worth population, and there's been a lot of growth in that segment as well. So from 2023 to 2025, we've seen a 5.5% growth in the ultra high net worth population, and that is expected to continue to grow. So the projection is that from 2023 to 2028, in the span of that 5 years, the growth could go up to 32%. Yeah.
That's great.
And that's a gap where those wealthy Indonesians, where they want to go today they go elsewhere because they don't have all of that product yet. So there's a development opportunity there.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Jesper Palmquist, thank you very much indeed for your time. Sharona Shung, thank you very much too. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
David.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much. Boleh kita berikan tepuk tangan
Thank
yang
you.
meriah
Terima
Thank you.
kasih.
untuk para pembicara kita. And David, thank you for moderating. So before we continue, let me just give you a quick summary of the discussion in Bahasa Indonesia. Jadi sudah kita simak bersama-sama tadi sesi diskusi panel yang pertama yang memberikan banyak sekali insights dan bahkan juga data-data mengenai seperti apa kondisi industri luxury tourism di Indonesia. Dimulai dari seperti apa historinya dalam waktu dekat dan seperti apa nih perubahan yang terjadi di masa sekarang dan proyeksi di masa depan. Jadi tadi kita dengarkan ya dari Ms. Sharona bahwa dulu mungkin kalau luxury travelers itu lebih memperhatikan penampilan, seperti apa nih look dari hotelnya, seberapa besar fasilitas yang dimiliki. Tapi untuk travelers luxury zaman sekarang, ternyata mereka mencari pengalaman, experiences, imersif, bagaimana caranya benar-benar merasakan suasana otentik dari kota yang dituju. Dan itu juga termasuk di Jakarta. Nah, karena Jakarta ini lebih terkenal sebagai kota bisnis, jadi banyak business travelers yang sekarang nggak cuma tinggal diam aja di hotel, tapi mereka juga senang berjalan-jalan, explore, mencari destinasi kuliner dan juga bahkan fashion. Dan ini adalah sesuatu yang sangat menarik dan bisa ditanggapi nih oleh para pelaku industri tourism di Indonesia. Nah, kalau untuk seperti apa keadaannya sekarang, tadi juga sudah dijelaskan bahwa bisa dibilang okupansi di hotel-hotel luxury di Indonesia sekarang sudah sama seperti masa pra-pandemi. Jadi bisa dikatakan we are back, sama resiliensinya luar biasa dan demand-nya juga sangat tinggi. Jadi ini merupakan sesuatu yang patut tanggapi dengan sangat positif dan menjadikan proyeksinya pun untuk masa depan menjadi tinggi. Seperti misalnya di Hotel Ham sendiri bahkan ada proyeksi growth 10% untuk tahun ini dengan begitu banyaknya demand untuk domestic market di mana ada tumbuh signifikan dari tahun lalu. Dan juga ditambah tahun depan akan dirayakan ulang tahun Jakarta yang ke-500 500th anniversary of our city. Jadi kayaknya sih bakal banyak banget nih hal-hal yang bisa menarik para turis-turis baik juga secara domestik maupun juga internasional untuk datang ke Indonesia. Tadi juga ada satu faktor mengenai unsur geopolitik yang dibahas sedikit, di mana ternyata di Indonesia tidak terlalu terpengaruh dengan kondisi apa yang sedang terjadi nih di region lain. Walaupun ada unsur makroekonomi, tapi tidak terlalu berpengaruh karena seperti yang sudah kita share tadi, proyeksinya naik, it's an upper trend, dan kita juga proyeksikan akan terus naik untuk tahun-tahun mendatang. Demikian teman-teman media ya, mudah-mudahan cukup jelas merangkum semua yang tadi dinyatakan. Kalau memang tadi ada pertanyaan yang ingin sekali ditanyakan kembali, nanti ada Q&A session yang kita berikan untuk teman-teman media sekalian. Oke, sekarang kita lanjut menuju sesi panel diskusi yang berikutnya, di mana kita akan bahas mengenai topik yang tidak kalah menarik, branded residences. Now we're going to shift the spotlight on branded residences. First, I would like to welcome Mr. Bill Barnett, Managing Director of C9 Hotel Works, who will be interviewing Mr. Edward Kusma, Director of Harmony Bali, regarding the Mandarin Oriental residences in Bali. Gentlemen, welcome to the stage. Yes, Bill, you may take your seat.
Hi.
Maybe you can sit over there.
no, we're
Oh,
fine.
yeah, we're fine. Okay, so I'll be sitting next to you.
sit here. Do you wanna sit
Okay,
here?
okay.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Bill Burnett from C9 Hotel Works, and today we're talking about branded residences. The power of brand is something really important. As Indonesia, if you go in a mall here, you understand luxury because you see the brands, right, everywhere you go. If you're seeing, this is the #2 Birkin bag market in the world. So when we're talking about branded real estate is something interesting because when a developer says, I want to put a brand on my real estate, they're expecting a premium. They're expecting a higher price, right? In terms of real estate, we don't like using the word ultra. We like using the word premium luxury, you know, at C9 Hotel Works. This is the term we're talking about, a premium in real estate. And when we look at a global market, if we look at our chart here, we're looking at in Asia alone, there's $40 billion of branded residences currently for sale in the marketplace, okay? Now within Indonesia, Indonesia does have a market for it. It has over $1 billion, okay? Which is still a significant share. But what it represents and what we're talking about today is that there is upside in this market. We always talk about the Indonesian economy. We say everything's flat, real estate is flat and everything else. But what we're saying with branded real estate is that there is upside because we can see the trend on an Asia-wide basis, where other cities have the same issues as Jakarta, where we look at Thailand with Bangkok as well, Manila as well, certainly where there's stress in the domestic marketplace, they're able to attract overseas buyers. They're able to attract luxury and position themselves. I think certainly when we look at Bali as well, what we have in Bali today is still an underserviced market. We have a few branded residences. I'll be talking to Edward in a minute about his project as well, but there's really only 4 brands which are actively selling branded residences in Bali today. You know, we've had Anantara with 2 projects. We have the Mandarin as well, and we have the Aman chain in Amankila. And what that represents is enormous opportunity in other projects to be doing the same thing. We expect more. It's interesting to be sitting in the Langham, Jakarta, because this project is a mixed-use project. This project was one of the most successful luxury real estate offerings in this city ever. So that's what you're able to do, and that's the upside. But today we don't have any new branded residences projects in Jakarta. So the question is why? But beyond the why, let's maybe talk about Bali. But Bali, Edward, you took over a project, which is an interesting project in Pandawa. Again, that's a good location. You know, you're within the periphery of Nusa Dua and everything else. And you went back and you decided, you made an operator selection. You said with your project, Mandarin Oriental. What was your thought process in terms of choosing Mandarin?
I mean, Mandarin is very, very well known internationally as a branded residence operator. They have a track record where they can give a very good premium on each of their properties that they have developed. So that was the part of the big reasoning.
I think something, you know, in terms of your project, you made a conscious decision at one point. Do I build a hotel or do I do real estate as well? And I think something we always know is post-COVID, developers say we want to mitigate risk. Maybe we don't want to say just tourism is the thing. We want to maybe have real estate. We want to have a business model which has other income as well. To own a hotel and develop a hotel, maybe it takes 10 years to make your money back. But once you have added branded residences, what was your incentive towards saying, I don't want to just do a hotel, but I want to do perhaps branded residences as well?
Because I want to create a community. Because hotel is basically a transiting kind of customers. While we see a lot of demand in Bali where after the COVID, we see a lot of people actually wants to move to Bali, but there aren't that many good options in the market. So we thought that by having this combination, we could come up with some very unique product.
I think something you say, we see urban flight in a lot of Asian CBDs. We see this in Bangkok, people moving to Phuket, people moving to other locations. We see other cities in the region where people say they've learned how to work from home, and again, they want a community, but they want lifestyle. You know, when you talk to your buyers, why are they saying we want to buy? Is it simply to buy a brand, or are they also looking after lifestyle and community?
I think at the beginning, in the first place, they always love Bali, but there is no product like this in the market. So that's first, and then of course because of the branded resi, you got the assurance from the operator, the legality, the service, and it's a it's a hassle-free environment basically. That's what they are praying.
I think certainly from a from a developer perspective, we've been talking about there's a gap in the marketplace in Bali. I come from Thailand. In Thailand and Phuket, we have residences which sell for $10 million, $20 million. But in Bali, we don't have that kind of market yet. There's from a hotel perspective, as some of the best hotels in the world. Why do you think there's a gap with Bali with real estate compared to other countries in Asia?
Because you highlighted very correctly. Bali have much higher rates compared to Phuket, but interestingly, the real estate is actually more affordable compared to Phuket. But when you learn about finance, the basis of that rates is actually what contributes to the value of the property. So in reality, supposedly Bali should be on par, or actually even higher than Phuket, but that's not happening yet, because this probably is we always talk about the number of international schools, right? Sure. So for people to really live in Bali, you need the support system, including the international school. There aren't that many international schools yet, but I believe there will be more coming.
Maybe let's talk a little about infrastructure, because we see demand generators. When you have real estate in branded residences, there's a hotel component, but you're also saying people are going to come live perhaps part-time of the year. Yeah. They're going to be staying there for a long period of time. Key demand generators, international schools, hospitals. If you have kids, if you're older, you want a good international hospital. When you look at Kura and some of the other developments in infrastructure with the marina coming in as well, these are demand generators. That's a positive for Bali, right?
Yeah, I think so. It's very exciting. Actually, I go to Bali every other week, and I keep meeting people then telling me that they're doing different kind of projects while you're in Jakarta. There aren't that many new projects coming to the market. So it's very exciting time to be in Bali.
So what attracted you to Mandarin the first time, in terms of, was it the reputation of the global hotels, or you stayed in one of the hotels, or what drove you to that brand?
I think, yeah, you partly, you said it correctly. I think the reputation and then the service, and also Bali is among the most competitive hotel market in the world. So you really have to be careful in choosing the operators, making sure that that's the right one.
I think it's important we're just not selling something today. We're talking about the reality on the market. Everything, Bali right now does have challenges as well. There's garbage, there's problems certainly, with overdevelopment as well. How do you think the local government's addressing that? And as a developer, how could you really assist them in showing them better practices?
We engage all the top consultants to help and basically try to tackle our own problem, but I really hope that the local governments can be more supportive and also speed up the infrastructure development to manage the traffic, the trash problem that we are seeing at the moment.
Maybe one last question. Let's talk about sustainability, and sustainability for tourism is a big issue, certainly as well, but certainly for Bali as well, in terms of creating a sustainable footprint for your community or your project. How are you able to address sustainability in the project?
Yeah, water is the most important one, especially we're located in the south of Bali, where it's very, very hard to get water. So we're trying to do rain harvesting as much as possible, try to recycle our water, and we are also doing some other sustainable initiative, solar panel and so on, integrating it into the project right from the beginning.
I think maybe a final messaging today is to talk about, people wonder about the Indonesian economy being flat and everywhere else. They say, what about branded residences? When we see it's attracting overseas buyers, what's the benefit to Indonesia, and how big is that marketplace? And people shouldn't be saying how big is the Indonesian market, but how big is the global market for luxury, for premium luxury. This is the key as well. We still see these playground destinations across the world, Mallorca, Miami, at one point Dubai as well, which is currently not the best place to be as well. Phuket as well. We see people who are flocking to these destinations, playground destinations, and Bali certainly is one of them, with reputation and the ability to grow the marketplace. So I think that's a really good thing. Any final words, Edward?
I'm very excited to see the further development of Bali. Right after COVID, Bali have changed. Used to be just like a tourism destinations, but more and more many people are choosing Bali to be their first home. So I think it's a very exciting time to be in Bali.
Great, thank you very much.
Yes, alright. So thank you so much, Billy. Boleh tepuk tangan sekali lagi yang paling meriah. Now, before I let you go, before we're going to do the Q&A session, and Edward, I will ask you to stay for the Q&A session. Okay, you want to go first? Yeah, go ahead. Let me just quickly summarize the discussion in Bahasa Indonesia to the best of my ability. Jadi sudah kita simak bersama-sama tadi teman-teman media diskusi panel kedua yang walaupun singkat, tapi cukup banyak informasi yang berhasil kita dapatkan tadi bersama-sama ya. Khususnya mengenai market branded residence yang sekarang nampaknya masih berkembang di Indonesia, khususnya di Bali, walaupun mungkin untuk hotel dan resort bisa dikatakan sudah cukup mapan. Tapi Indonesia sebagai emerging market sekarang tuh punya market value di 24,7 triliun rupiah teman-teman. Jadi sudah cukup besar nih sebenarnya ya potensi yang dimiliki. Untuk Bali sendiri, saat ini ada lebih dari 70 lebih hospitality projects yang sedang berjalan. Ini menggambarkan betapa dinamisnya lanskap industri pariwisata dan khususnya untuk branded residence yang memang masih merupakan market yang belum terlalu tereksplor di Bali karena ada unsur infrastruktur yang belum mapan. Seperti misalnya kehadiran sekolah internasional dan juga rumah sakit internasional yang tentu menjadi pertimbangan bagi banyak orang untuk stay di Bali dalam jangka waktu yang panjang. Ada juga masalah-masalah lain seperti misalnya sampah dan juga isu kemacetan yang diharapkan tentunya bisa teratasi dengan adanya regulasi pemerintah yang lebih baik untuk bisa mengatasi masalah-masalah tersebut. Isu kelestarian juga pada saat ini menjadi beberapa isu seperti misalnya ketersediaan air bersih di Bali Selatan yang saat ini juga masih harus dipikirkan solusi terbaiknya. Namun Indonesia dan juga Bali khususnya karena reputasinya sudah sangat baik dalam industri pariwisata sebenarnya memiliki potensi yang sangat baik untuk menjadi destinasi luxury yang bukan hanya terkenal di regional tapi di seluruh dunia. Demikian adalah rangkuman dari saya, terima kasih banyak. Boleh tepuk tangan sekali lagi untuk semua speakers kita yang sekarang akan kita undang kembali untuk naik ke atas panggung. So we invite our speakers now to join us back onto the stage. So Ms. Rona, Jasper, please join us back here. And we also would like to have Matt Gebby to be on the stage. Yes, that's my pen. All right. Matt, you can be in the center. Yes. All right then, now let's begin with the Q&A session. Teman-teman media, kita sekarang punya waktu nih untuk teman-teman media bisa mengajukan pertanyaan-pertanyaannya yang tentunya berhubungan dengan topik-topik yang baru saja kita bahas pada siang hari ini ataupun yang berkenaan dengan topik pariwisata di Indonesia, di Bali, di Jakarta dan juga mengenai platform ITX yang pertama kalinya nih mengadakan event di tahun 2026 ini. Silakan teman media, siapa yang mau naik terlebih dahulu? Yes, you sir. Thank you so much. Let me just grab a mic. Boleh kenalan dulu ya, namanya, media, lalu pertanyaannya. Silakan.
Thank you. Can I in bahasa?
Yes, of course.
Oke, terima kasih semua. Perkenalkan nama saya Shemi from TDM Media, Travel Daily Media. The question is, Jasper, earlier you mentioned about Indonesian luxury travel potential is a massive, especially in Jakarta. So the question is, what are the challenges and how can Indonesia, especially in Jakarta, increase both rates and occupancy? That's the question. Thank you.
Yes. Just turn it on. Oke, Mas Shemi, makasih ya. Katanya pakai bahasa, tapi ternyata Inggrisnya lancar sekali. Jadi langsung aja dijawab.
Terima kasih. Thank you for the question. So, I mean, challenges Indonesia and Jakarta shares with, not uniqueness, it shares with many other countries in Southeast Asia and beyond, and one of them being flights, like connectivity to increase that. The higher occupants you have in these hotels, you have a much easier ability to increase rates. We talk often, if you're in revenue management, about compression. When you have over 90% occupancy, rates naturally flow. It happens in Phuket in luxury to a much larger degree than here. Because when you have high occupancy, rates, it's easier, just like airlines. It's very expensive now to fly. So I think flights and that increased connectivity, which we know is happening with the infrastructure of this country. And then it's something, the second point will be something that goes back at least a decade, expanding the vision of Indonesia. It's more than Bali and Jakarta, right? All these new, Singapore has 2 new flights coming into new destinations in Indonesia now. So these new destinations for people to discover, because right now those hotels have both low occupancy and low rates because it's only domestic. Because the domestic pricing is different. Malaysia is the same. Malaysia is a very domestic market. So I think increasing the exposure, so the tourism authority and the government in that exposure, it's a very competitive market. Vietnam is right now on a very successful growth in both foreign direct investments and arrivals into the country. So it's doing that in the flights. I think that leads to the exposition. One thing Indonesia has for it that not everyone has is a great entrepreneurial spirit of new brands and new hotels and creating business. This is, for me, one of the best things we can see in Southeast Asia. Indonesia will grow new brands and do really well with that.
Thank you, Jasper. Jadi teman-teman media tadi ditanyakan oleh Mas Shemi ya, gimana caranya nih untuk bisa menaikkan rate di Indonesia tadi yang terhitung masih rendah dibandingkan dengan negara-negara lain. Dan Mr. Jasper menjawab ya pada intinya kalau mau bisa gampang menaikkan rate, okupansinya juga harus meningkat. Ini yang juga terjadi di beberapa industri lain seperti penerbangan dan ini juga yang terjadi di negara-negara lain. Bagaimana cara menaikkan okupansi adalah dengan meningkatkan kesadaran banyak orang, gak cuma di regional tapi seluruh dunia mengenai kesempatan untuk berinvestasi dan juga untuk datang ke Indonesia. Dan ada juga kok faktor-faktor Indonesia yang cukup menguntungkan dan mungkin tidak dimiliki oleh negara lain, yaitu kemampuan berbisnis yang luar biasa yang dimiliki oleh banyak orang di Indonesia, bisa memunculkan banyak brand-brand yang pada akhirnya akan bisa memunculkan situasi yang nanti memberikan experience yang imersif bagi mereka yang datang ke sini. Demikian. Right, thank you. We move on to the next question. Silakan. Yes, of course, silakan Pak. Boleh kenalan dulu nama dan medianya, lalu pertanyaannya. Silakan.
Yeah. Check. Yeah, my name is Sudibyo from the Jakarta Post. I think it is very interesting to learn that in the first session, you mentioned that from the macroeconomic perspective, geopolitical tensions like conflict and war doesn't have a significant impact on luxury tourism in Indonesia. Can you give, can you elaborate further on this or give a specific reason for this? And the first question, regarding the investment in luxury tourism, especially when we are related to the regulation, is there any regulation that you think will obstacles or block the development of luxury tourism in Indonesia? I think this. The second,
Okay.
2 questions. Yeah.
Yes, Pak Sudibyo dari Jakarta Post. Okay, so the first question was about the matter of geopolitical issue and macroeconomy that was mentioned. Doesn't have a significant impact on the tourism industry right now. Could you please elaborate?
Yeah, and it's important to remember to divide that. Obviously, the impact on the economy is something totally different, right? The longer this goes on, it would impact most countries, including Indonesia. If it goes on for too long, we will have inflation and currency will depreciate and no good, right? But luxury, in terms of the hospitality and travel, going back all these crises, one is the flexibility. If you're a high-end traveler, there's flexibility on how you travel. Oh no, my flight, it's more expensive to change it, whatever. It's easier to do that. They are less likely to cancel or change their itineraries around the world. And that, you can see that in very mature and modern luxury markets. They just transcend that. What was the fastest growing market that emerged after COVID and after previous crisis? Always luxury. That revenge travel that we talked about, the first one is always luxury. Oh, it's a little bit too expensive. It doesn't matter. They will travel first. They will find a way to do it. And that offering, and very often it's secluded and these regional luxury resorts where it's easier to either from pandemic, it was perfect, right? Maldives did very well, one island, one resort, right? So remote locations in Indonesia, and tea plantations in Sri Lanka. All those things do really well because for a normal, like a non-high net individual might be like, oh, it's a long travel there. Not an issue for luxury, right? Private jet, helicopter, you're there, right? Anywhere in Bali, very quick and easy. So it will rebound quickly, and that means you're less impacted by geopolitical crisis that disrupts the travel flow, raise rates, or anything like that. So that's we go back 40 years of crisis, always the same.
All right, let me just quickly interpret that. Jadi seperti yang dikatakan oleh Pak Jasper bahwa sebenarnya isu makroekonomi dan isu geopolitik itu dua hal yang berbeda, Pak. Kalau makroekonomi ya pasti ada impactnya, apalagi kalau terus-terusan berlangsung dalam waktu yang lama. Tapi yang Pak Jasper ingin tekankan adalah untuk luxury travel khususnya, ternyata memang mereka memiliki kelebihan untuk tidak terdampak dengan kenaikan harga. Tidak ada kata-kata ini terlalu mahal atau ini terlalu susah. Kalau memang mereka ingin traveling ke sebuah tempat, mereka akan datang ke tempat itu berapapun juga harganya. Dan ini sudah terbukti dengan begitu banyaknya krisis-krisis yang saat ini terjadi di belahan dunia, namun tetap banyak luxury travelers yang datang ke berbagai tempat, termasuk juga di Indonesia. Nah, pertanyaan selanjutnya tadi mengenai regulasi pemerintah ya Pak ya. So next question involves government regulation. I don't know, Pak Edward, maybe you can share with us your own experience in your project in Bali.
English or Indonesia?
Terserah Bapak.
Okay.
Apa bahasa Indonesia aja kali, biar langsung Pak.
Ya, kan memang selama ini kan kita lagi peraturan kita kan terus berkembang ya Pak ya, dengan ke arah yang lebih baik. Dan mudah-mudahan dengan sistem-sistem yang dibangun bisa semakin mempermudah dan makin lebih menyederhanakan permit-permit yang ada, dan dengannya udah ada yang OSS dan lain-lain cukup membantu dalam proses apply permit yang kita lakukan. Dari saya sih itu aja. Of course, cuman compliance-nya akan semakin kencang ya Pak ya, karena kan kalau zaman dulu tata ruangnya dan lain-lain tidak se-strict sekarang. Jadi sebenarnya untuk level playing field sebenarnya lebih strict lebih baik. Karena kan kalau dulu mungkin ada, khususnya kalau kita ngomong di Bali ya, ada area-area yang mungkin disupport sama desa tertentu sehingga dia bisa bangun seperti ini, termasuk yang area-area persawahan itu. Tetapi dengan adanya peraturan yang dari pusat benar-benar strict sehingga area yang tidak bisa dibangun ya mudah-mudahan tidak dibangun, karena kita pada satu saat juga nggak mau lihat pergi ke Bali yang Balinya udah jadi penuh gedung dan dibangun semua, dan kita jadi lupa kenapa alasan orang pergi ke Bali di pertamanya. Mungkin dari saya itu.
Terima kasih ya Pak Edward ya. Sudah dijawab ya Pak Sudibyo untuk pertanyaan-pertanyaannya. Kita masih ada waktu, ya boleh dibantu mikrofonnya untuk Ibu yang sudah mengacungkan tangannya. Silakan Ibu, kita boleh berkenalan dulu nama dan media.
Oke,
silakan.
dulu ya. Saya pendek, saya nggak kelihatan.
Ya, silakan Ibu, bebas. Enaknya Ibu aja gimana.
Hi, Mimi Hudoyo from TTG Asia. I have a question to Matt, especially about this ITX. Why is it the best time to launch your event at this moment, this year? And the second question is that I've seen a number of luxury hotels opening up beyond Jakarta, Bali, like Sumba, for example, and then in the smaller islands in the east. Do you see that? Do you see that as a trend going beyond Bali for the luxury travel and the luxury hospitality investment? Thank you.
Thanks, Boomimi. First question, why now? We have been talking about it for a while, and when it came to the conversation earlier in the year, now just seemed to be perfect. And as the world has progressed since January, I think it's even more important that we focus on Indonesian hospitality and tourism in 2026. I think whatever happens to the world in the next 12, 24 months, right? Indonesia has Indonesians, and a lot of Indonesians are traveling. And I think a stage like what we have today, where we can showcase what Indonesia has now to encourage, stimulate, create room night demand for the hotels across the country. I think it's perfect timing. I think it's a little bit more serendipitous than it was meant to be. It was kind of, let's do it in 2026, but now that we're doing it now, it's perfect. And in terms of tourism luxury across Indonesia, yes, the one hesitation I have is that typically those properties are very small. So creating a 30-room Nihi in Sumba and then following it up 10 years later with the Cap Caroso and then following it up, we're not getting the critical mass or the airlines, the airlift that we need to really get solid performance out of these hotels. They can do very well from a PR perspective. They can get super high rates, but occupancy's tough out there, and costs, right, expenses are high. So the operations are difficult. There are so many destinations in this country that could have luxury offerings, but we kind of need the airlift to come first to make it easier. And a lot of these destinations, like we're seeing in Labuan Bajo, without a Garuda or a scheduled airline to link Jakarta to Bajo or Bali to Bajo, we're not going to get the high-end guests. No one's coming in on CityLink, right? So super high net on their own jets, sure, but that's not a huge market. What we need is Garuda or another scheduled airline to get some business class seats in. And then the sky's the limit.
Alright, demikian Ibu, apakah sudah cukup jelas jawabannya? Pada intinya ini adalah momen yang terbaik memang Bu, untuk benar-benar membuka Indonesia di peta dunia internasional untuk pariwisata. Dan mungkin juga ada satu yang menarik ya, tadi diungkapkan oleh Matt bahwa untuk bisa membuka lebih banyak lagi lokasi-lokasi pariwisata lain di Indonesia, nomor satu ternyata yang dibutuhkan adalah akses. Biar mudah nih para luxury traveler datang ke sana, karena memang usaha yang lebih mudah tentunya akan juga membantu lebih banyak orang untuk datang yang pada akhirnya akan memberikan apa yang kita inginkan, yaitu naiknya occupancy rate di berbagai destinasi di sana. Terima kasih ya Ibu. Okay, we have time for one more question. So yes, go ahead. Silakan ya Mas.
Thank you. I'm Tom from National Geographic Indonesia. I want to ask about the luxury travel industry is known to consume large amounts of fresh water. We know it, consume large amounts of fresh water. Yeah. How can the luxury tourism can contribute to water conservation and other sustainability aspects, maybe in Jakarta or in Bali? Thank you.
Okay. Question on sustainability. So Ms. Sharona and Pak Edward, maybe you can share with us the practices done in your own hospitality projects to ensure.
I think I mentioned about it before. I mean, especially like Indonesia is getting stricter in terms of getting your water, so you can only get your water from the local water company. And then what can you do best is, of course, rain harvesting. Integrate as much rain harvesting as possible into your building designs, and also preparing all the water collection tank. And in addition to that, of course, you do the RO that usually already done by many hotels in Bali. So they treat their water and reuse it for landscaping and so on. And for Jakarta case, you want to add something?
I think in an urban hotel, I think that becomes more of a challenge for water conservation. But all Langham hotels, I mean, we do the water. Some of our hotels do the water bottling system where we will rebottle our own drinking water for guests. So that kind of limits the usage of water a little bit. And I think, like you say, right, the constant education of water conservation within the team, with our guests. I mean, we encourage guests to reuse their linen. If you do not need to change your bed linens every day or your towels, that helps to conserve the usage of water in laundry. So every little step counts. Yeah, it's a long way in education, especially for luxury travelers, right? They tend to want to have fresh linens and towels every day. But that really helps if, you know, we place the card and say, reuse it. Yeah, don't need to wash your towels every day, right? But yeah, every little step counts.
To follow on what, just 30 words, to follow on what Ed was saying about Bali, the Bali Hotels Association has been extremely proactive in the collection of data. We've been collecting water and electricity data for the BHA for years. They've also, in the last 12 months, educated their members on carbon emissions and calculating their carbon footprint. So certainly there are big steps forward on water consumption and electricity consumption.
Demikian ya Mas ya, mudah-mudahan cukup jelas. Secara praktis memang masih banyak tantangan yang dialami oleh industri hospitality, tapi yang nomor satu selalu ditekankan adalah edukasi, baik kepada staf internal maupun juga tamu-tamu yang menginap, betapa pentingnya untuk melakukan hal-hal kecil yang tentunya berarti untuk konservasi. Nah tadi Matt juga menambahkan bahwa ternyata di Bali pun ini adalah isu yang sangat dianggap serius dan memang dilakukan secara struktural bagaimana caranya agar seluruh industri pariwisata ini bisa juga bersama-sama menjaga lingkungan agar tetap lestari. Baiklah, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for questions. So Matt, if you'd be so kind maybe to just quickly reiterate the key messages we want to convey to our media friends that they can also share with their viewers and their listeners and their readers. Go ahead.
Thank you all for being here. We're all thrilled and humbled that this is happening in 2026 on May 12th at the Langham, of course. Number one, this is all about Indonesia. You'll see a crowd of Indonesians on stage this afternoon talking about Indonesian tourism, living Indonesian tourism. I think that's the number one. And also this format that we have of 2 hours, which really does open it up to a lot more people. And it's all about accessibility to this information and trying to get the word out.
Matt, Gabby, thank you very much to our speakers as well. Our gratitude for being here. Thank you, Pak Edward, Ms. Sharona, and Jasper. We are truly honored with your presence and also for sharing your insights. Boleh tepuk tangan sekali lagi yang paling meriah. And now, ladies and gents, we like to invite you all to do a photo opportunity at the backdrop at the foyer area that we have provided. And there you can also follow up if you have any further questions for the speakers. But for now, let's all meet outside at the backdrop area for a photo opportunity with all of our esteemed speakers who just shared their insights right here on the stage. And once again, we like to extend our deepest gratitude to all of you as well, our media friends, for attending this press conference. And thank you for your support for ITX platform and its first event in Indonesia in 2026. Terima kasih banyak teman-teman media untuk kehadirannya. Kami persilahkan untuk bisa bersama-sama kita bergabung di area foyer di depan backdrop untuk foto bersama. Dan juga sebagai konklusi ini dari kebersamaan kita pada siang hari ini. Saya Siska Becker, sampai jumpa lagi di kesempatan berikutnya. Sehat selalu, sukses selalu Bapak Ibu, dan sampai jumpa di kesempatan berikutnya. Terima kasih.